watching Channel 20 TV. Be with Channel 20 and let us make things better together.
Dear viewers, we'd like to welcome you to join our Channel 20's talk show regular series program, and we have got with us today a special person from Bangladesh, and this is also a special occasion for us because, as you know, on 17th of September we just observed from World Health Organization World Patient Safety Day. So we'd like to talk about world patients on this occasion in Bangladesh context, how's going on, everything. We will try to understand and realize the value proposition and the contribution of the current government and current medical sector effectiveness as well. That's why we have invited with us today Professor Dr. Mamun Al-Mahtab. He's the chairman and also he's the head of the Department of Hepatology of Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujib Medical University, which is known as BSMMU in Bangladesh, and one of the leading universities indeed. So let us welcome Professor Dr. Mamun Al-Mahtab to our show. Hello, sir. How are you?
Fine, thank you. It's a pleasant experience being connected to you.
Thank you, sir, very much. And as I mentioned with our audience, that we'd like to focus on World Patient Safety Day, the legacy. Though it wasn't 17, but legacy goes on, and we'd like to try to understand something from you in Bangladesh context. So my first question to you, how far you reckon the awareness is going on in Bangladesh regarding this particular safety, for the patient safety? Do you think there's been enough awareness being done from the government, non-government, whatsoever? What's the current scenario?
This is a very burning question these days in our part of the world, not only in Bangladesh, but rather the region. Because you see patient safety, patient satisfaction, these things have become very important. Unlike your country where you're staying, there are litigations and these things. We don't have those in here, but we have a very rampant problem that dissatisfied patients and their colleague relatives sometimes do not behave very nicely to the hospitals. We have had some untoward incidences, and then we also want to look at the physician's attitude, why the patients are not really so satisfied. So one aspect may be that the physicians in this country are overburdened, the healthcare system is overburdened, that may have contributed to whatever. So given these circumstances, yes, there has been significant development. Number one is the government has initiated a program. It's an operational program under the Directorate General of Health Services, and as far as I know, that there is also a government officer in the rank of a deputy program manager who is designated. So it is not a fully functioning program yet, but what I gather that from the Upazila level, that is the sub-district level, up to the tertiary hospitals, they have constituted committees to ensure patient safety in the respective hospitals. That is one aspect. Then a national guideline has been formulated. Number two, especially, but that is not very old development. I think has been going for the last 2 years. And then we had COVID. So what they are now doing is that they are trying to make the healthcare providers aware about patient safety needs, like triage is the important concept. Saving the non-COVID from COVID is an important aspect. And what I gathered that at least in one tertiary medical college hospital in Dhaka, Shohid Sohrawardi Medical College Hospital, a program has been conducted by the government to make the healthcare providers aware of patient safety rights. So that is one aspect of this thing. Other aspect is antimicrobial resistance and microbial safety. That is a very vibrant program, and we have now committees in all the different hospitals. All the major hospitals have their own antimicrobial guidelines, how to use, which antibiotics, things like that. But if you and then waste management and these things that there, safe disposal of syringes and these issues that there, safe blood transfusion. There's a law, but what I should say is that we have been doing many things in a scattered way, but these things have not been brought under one umbrella. And as you can see, that this day has also been recognized by the World Health Organization not so far back. So the concept is there, the operation plan is there, so things will improve. Most importantly, the government is actively considering enacting 2 laws. But the popular demand is that instead of 2 laws, make it 1 law. So one is to protect the rights of the patients who receive treatment to ensure their safety, their right and everything, and other is to protect the safety and the right of the healthcare providers. So that is also important. So yes, we have started the journey, but we have a long way to go, to summarize.
As you rightly said, it's really appreciable and commendable job done by the Bangladesh government, no doubt about that, as you say. But my question is, I just heard from your statement that policy, regulations, those are the keywords. Now, we have seen even in the Western world, the policies do not click until unless these are made by involving and engaging the key stakeholders. What about in your case? I'm talking about in Bangladesh. Do you reckon these strategies are made by involving the true and key stakeholders? Especially if I talk about not only the safety for the patients, also the safety for the health workers, as you rightly mentioned. So what you reckon, are the stakeholders involved directly in government policy making? Are they getting the chance?
Yes and no, because regarding the safety issue, unless you have the policies and the guidelines, you cannot engage. So those are still in the formulation phase. Some are very old. For example, as I told you, the safe blood transfusion, use of disposables. Some are very new, like patient safety in hospitals. Some are yet to be implemented, the legal framework. So it's in the process. Regarding the engagement, as I told you, from the government end, at least piloting has been started, and at least in one major medical college in Dhaka, this has been done. So the healthcare providers, starting from the specialist physicians to the absolutely ground level staff, they are being trained and educated. So engagement is there. Now, whether the physicians are involved or the healthcare providers are involved or engaged in policy management. So, but this was almost not seen. But again, COVID is a new experience and also an eye opener. So, for the first time, probably, if I'm not wrong, we are seeing that health experts are being engaged in government policy making, because like most countries, we also have a technical committee comprising of healthcare specialists, and also we have a separate committee comprising epidemiologists. I cannot say that whatever they are recommending is being implemented by the government, and for that matter, I cannot also say that what they are recommending, I agree with them also. But the fact of the matter is that the committee has been formed, and most of the recommendations have been accepted during the COVID time. So this is a practice that has started. Hopefully it will continue, hopefully it will improve, and we are changing, it's like an upcoming economic developing country. We have changed status recently from underdeveloped to developing. So attitude will change and things will come with the change.
Yep, no doubt about it. Now, I would like to ask you as an individual, because you are not only you are also a leader, because you lead a department, you lead an institutional certain wing. So you have a lot of followers, you have a lot of, supporters. They would like to, see you as their idol. So my question to you, suppose you are one of our nation's pioneers, leading role player, if I just want to even highlight the hepatology, would you like to suggest to government at this present circumstances what they're going to concentrate on urgent basis for the purpose of quick implementation? Do you have any suggestion? Because we know we need to do so many things. We know there's no doubt about that. But what's your recommendation, being an expert and being the person who's been into this field for many years? What's your suggestion to the government?
Most people will like to hear an answer that we should invest more in the health sector, we should invest more in the primary health care. I have some doubts. For example, we have community clinics in Bangladesh. So there's one healthcare worker for every 6,000 Bangladeshi population, and more or less the country is entirely covered. So I doubt whether even the most developed country of the world, USA, has that type of primary healthcare coverage. It doesn't. But could we manage COVID? Are all people in Bangladesh wearing masks? So only investing in primary health is not the solution. So I think one good way that the COVID has taught us is we have to invest in making the people aware. You can have them the healthcare facility ready for them, but they have to know what healthcare facility is there, what healthcare means. For example, I can refer you to the Mina cartoon. You see, it took 12 years for us to teach our population that one should wash the hands with soap after responding to nature's call, and that was the Mina cartoon that did the trick. And now Mina cartoon is now used for so many things. The US audience will not be aware of Mina, but in Bangladesh, in our part of the world, Mina is now promoting, preventing early marriage, promoting child education, so many things. So one is that aspect, that for health, proper dissemination of information to the people, that is important. Another good example may be Ampan. You see, we had the category 10 cyclone recently, like the ones you see frequently see in the part of USA where you're staying.
Yeah, Sally, Hurricane Sally, yeah.
So now what happens is over a you give a notice of 4 hours, and 2.4 million people in the remotest part of Bangladesh, they go to the cyclone shelters, and next day they come back. There's not a single rape, not a single mugging, not a single murder, nothing. So then that means that you have the device. You can, if you can send the information to your people, they do behave and they do comply. So one suggestion that I would like to see or make is that, dissemination of information in the right path. And second is, I think the entire health administration should be restructured in Bangladesh. Like the autonomy that you have in USA, maybe that is not the case, that we can still afford, or we are still mature enough to do that. But again, the health cadre in Bangladesh is the second largest cadre service. We have more than 30,000 first-class graduate officers who are serving the health cadre. But again, the administrative posts are very limited. So what happens is, and again, people who are, you see, there's a group of specialists who have offered specialist care. There's another group of people who are health managers. Now, sitting in the USA, just assume that one clinician goes and tries to manage a hospital. It will only do bad and end up in disaster. That is what we are seeing in Bangladesh. The managerial posts are taken up by the clinicians at some stage, and the managers are getting frustrated. So this cannot happen. So I think that this will change, and I do believe that this is going to change, because again, I will thank COVID, because of out of the many bad things the COVID did, it also did some good things. The best thing is, throughout the world, COVID has taught us that health is something that has to be prioritized. Only satellites and nuclear power plants and these are not very important, and also non-communicable diseases are not the end of the story. A cardiac event or cancers cannot stop the world, but a simple unseen virus, an infectious disease, can bring the world to an halt. So these are the teachings of COVID, and COVID teaches us that health has to be emphasized and prioritized. So I think in the post-COVID new normal era, these things will be seen, and we will also see such changes in our health administration as well.
We wish the same as well with you. Now, my next question is regarding, I would like to ask you, and I know you are also from the health sector, one of the pioneers, but I'm expecting non-biased answer. Don't you reckon that we have failed to recognize Bangladesh health workers' contribution? Do you reckon we are really recognizing and acknowledging efforts and contribution properly? Though I know Honorable Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, she announced a lot of packages and incentives for them. I know, we respect that. It's not been happening in a lot of countries in the world, but happened in Bangladesh. We appreciate that. But what do you reckon, as a third eye context, do you think in Bangladesh we do admire, recognize the effort of health workers properly?
See, this is, if you want to be non-biased, I'll be non-biased, but again, this is not a question that you can answer straightforward. Like what you have said, that the government has declared packages, but again, the health worker. So, in terms of COVID, the COVID management has three aspects, I think. One is the political leadership. Second is managerial aspect. Third is the healthcare providers. So if you take out the political leadership, I'll be unbiased. I don't know whom you are going to vote for, Trump or Biden, but I will tell you that in Bangladesh, the political leadership played a better role than they played that we have been seeing being played in USA. The political leadership here was very much successful. Why I say that? You see, we had Ampan, a category 7 10 cyclone. We had the longest standing flooding of the history in Bangladesh. We had a population of 160 million to feed. On top of that, we have 1 million Rohingyas staying in Bangladesh. But we have not seen anyone dying of hunger. You have not seen people coming out on the streets and claiming and demanding for food. So that shows the government has succeeded in managerial aspect. If you talk about the healthcare providers, we have seen that the mortality in Bangladesh is 1.2 to 1.4%. So we are leading the points tally in terms of least number of deaths in the world. That is something outstanding. A fragile healthcare system in Bangladesh coping so well. We have been, cheated or defeated in the managerial aspect, where US is doing very well, where developed country is expected to do very well. So there you see, now we are exporting PPE to 71 countries. But the unfortunate fact of the matter is that in Bangladesh, one of the highest number of physicians have died because we could not ensure PPE for them. So a country that is exporting PPE could not ensure PPE for its own physicians. We have seen scams with PCR testing. We have seen scams with masks. So these are the things. So it's a managerial failure that has happened. And here we have to emphasize that, you see, the physicians were given 3 to 5 star accommodation during their quarantine period after they have served in the COVID hospitals for 7 to 14 days. Now, the physicians in Bangladesh never asked that I need to stay in a 5-star hotel for my quarantine. They just said that put me in a place where I can stay away from my family and serve my patient and don't get my family infected. So we put them in 5-star hotels. Then suddenly we said, you go back, you have to go and stay with your family. We don't bother. So why? So this is actually managerial failure. Put them in a modest accommodation from the very beginning. You cannot afford 5 stars in a country like Bangladesh. So that is the issue. So what I say is that the intention from the highest level was perhaps there, but in many cases that information was not there. Again, one big good example is I got infected with COVID. Now the incentive says that who will get the COVID incentive? A physician or a healthcare worker who got infected while serving in a COVID hospital will get the incentive. Now, how did I get infected? Did I go to the mall? Did I go to the beach? Did I go to spend a holiday and got infected? No. I am serving in a third world country where there's huge mixing of COVID and non-COVID, and that's how I got infected. Now, if you tell me that I have to prove that yes, I served that COVID hospital, so I got infected. So so whom will you blame? Will you blame the government? No, it's a managerial failure. It's the people in between who create such things, and the physicians get frustrated. So the answer is yes and no. There are incentives, there are initiatives, but somehow due to some managerial failures, these are not always reflected.
And now we know, like, for example, ready-made garment sector, we have trade union, and other business area, we have trade union. Do you think about health workers' right and safety? Is there any authority or body or forum or union in Bangladesh, or there's no practice like that?
There is that. We have the Bangladesh Medical Association, and unlike in many countries, I don't know whether any other country has that. Here, the major political parties also have their supported physicians' fronts. Now, what happens is this is something that with the US people who have not visited Bangladesh, who are not born in Bangladesh, will become very, even if one person listens to this interview, they'll get confused what he's saying. But you see, the physicians have played a pivotal role in the history of Bangladesh. during the war of 1971. We had faced some unprecedented types of crimes against humanity. We are aware of the intellectual assassination by the Pakistani occupation forces and their collaborators. Now, who were the intellectuals? The Pakistanis, when they realized that they will lose the war, they wanted to have a Bangladesh devoid of intellectuals. So they eliminated the intellectuals, physicians, journalists, teachers all over the country. Who were the most who suffered? The physicians. You know, maybe number wise not so many, but percentage wise among all professionals, the highest number of intellectuals who were assassinated by the Pakistanis and their collaborators were the physicians. So that shows that the physicians had that type of contribution beyond their profession, intellectual contribution, that the Pakistanis felt that these people need to be eliminated first if we had to have a Bangladesh which is devoid of intellectual merit. Then see what happened in 1990 when we had a massive uprising and the military rule ultimately came to an end in Bangladesh. You see, Pakistan still has a direct or indirect military rule, which we don't have in Bangladesh. It began in 1990. Our journey in democracy has been a troublesome one, a turmoilsome one. But the fact of the matter remains that since 1990, we have not had a general in dress coming and sitting in the chair of the country's highest chair. But who brought that military ruler down? It was one Dr. Milon. He was the leader of the Bangladesh Medical Association. He was assassinated. Then the community came up and the military ruler had to surrender. Problem is that we still have that DNA. But unfortunately, probably the leadership has either lost its edge or has become politically biased or is not, what I gather, everything is there. They are possibly not in touch with their junior cadres, with the profession. So there is a detachment between the profession and the professional leadership, and that is why we are seeing many things that is happening. The managerial failure that I'm telling you would not have happened if the professional leadership of the physician's profession had that contact with their juniors and their peers.
Professor Dr. Mamoon, I would like to just a little bit open up and we'd like to discuss something very openly. What do you reckon in Bangladesh, have we reached that level or have we reached that stage that once we get sick that we will not bother to choose any hospital, we can go any hospital? Do you think quality-wise we have improved a lot? This is number one. Number two, what do you reckon about urban and rural? Do you think the quality gap is still huge and massive? Or do you think, oh, we don't care. If we are part of rich class, we're going to fly away and we'll go to any rich country and avail the medical service? What do you reckon? How far we are working to minimize this quality gap? What's the current scenario?
The answer is yes and no. There has been a massive investment in the healthcare sector. But you see, in the third world, the revival or the upliftment, you see, our common destination, our favorite destination for health tourism is India. Now, if you look at the Indian health industry, how did that flourish? It flourished because of some rich Indian corporate giants who came up with corporate social responsibility sort of idea. For example, the Tata Group, the Birla Group, and all these people, even the Ambanis, they have built huge hospitals right from the beginning of the last century. And they were not looking at making profit from those hospitals. And it is the Indian corporate sector, through their corporate social responsibility, they flourished the healthcare sector. Your John Hopkins, your Harvard, are these government universities? No. They are private sector entrepreneurs, and there people are not looking to make money from Harvard only. They have a different attitude. Now you come to Bangladesh. In Bangladesh, the amount of money and investment the government has done in the healthcare sector is unprecedented. There has been corruption, there has been everything, but again, it's unprecedented. But here, the corporate sector has terribly failed. They have come up with corporate hospitals and tried to mint money from it. They have made these hospitals yet another business wing. So what has happened is we have had good hospitals, which is not yet sufficient to meet the demand, but these have become unaffordable for the people. We don't have a Tata Cancer Hospital in Bangladesh, and we don't have a Birla Heart Institute in Bangladesh. We don't have a Devi Shet in Bangladesh. We'll make money, but not that money, and look for some philanthropy also. So that is a big problem. But I think again, this COVID is a teaching. It has shown that health is a huge investment, and you don't need to. You can depend on quality only. Our health sector is depending on quantity. I will get one patient and make all the profit from it. Now we have realized that there are a good number of patients, good number of opportunities, and many. So you can depend on quantity and also compete qualitatively.
Yep.
But if we have a very developed system like India, will you stop our health migration? No. Till then, some people will go. People from Kolkata go to the South India for treatment. From the South, they go to Delhi. And even I have seen my relatives staying in the UK, traveling to USA for better treatment, and I have seen my colleagues and friends staying in USA, traveling from one state to another for better treatment. So this is the human nature that you can never stop, but it will, So the answer is yes and no. So we are still lagging behind. We are improving. Someday will be even better, but still then health tourism will be there.
Long way to go. That's undoubtedly. No, I know. The topic I'd like to raise now, it's also another issue of long way to go, which is health insurance. What about you or corporates, country, think about starting health insurance for the employees, or you think it's still too early to think in context of Bangladesh?
No, not too early to think. It has also been implemented scatteredly. There are many corporate houses who are offering many of the government corporations, the semi-government bodies, they are offering. For example, Bangladesh Biman, health is free. You go to Southern Bima Corporation, health is free. You go to the military, health is free. For the government doctors, to some government employees, to some extent, health is free. Actually, what has happened is Bangladesh has a unique health system, which was never fully implemented. You see, the healthcare system in Bangladesh, from the sub-district to BSMMU, the highest institute.
Yep.
Basically, these are free. Basically, these are free. It's very little money that you need to do anything in these hospitals. And these hospitals do many things nowadays. The problem is these are overburdened. These are not managed up to the standard. So to some extent, we don't have a health insurance, but we have a huge subsidy in health sector, which is not actually performing or being visible the way the amount of money that has been poured in or the effort that has been given in. So that is one aspect. So we should think about health insurance, but we shouldn't make it a US system where an insured person can think of health, and if you are not insured, you are rotten. That cannot happen. So we have to preserve our existing system and develop a health insurance. We have to, I always say that we can learn from the developed world, but we don't need to copy. We need to copy paste. Exactly. Depending on our local scenario.
Yeah, absolutely right. You're absolutely right. We are almost in the end. Just I've got one or two questions to check with you. We often say, you already started your discussion for today's show, that allocation of budget has to be more for healthcare. Okay. Whatever has been allocated for healthcare sector from Bangladesh government, are you 100% sure that we are utilizing properly? Or still you're going to keep on going like other people say, oh, we need more budget, 4% of GDP, WHO said, what you go for? Do you like to support the idea of option A, we need more allocation? Or you'd like to go for the option B, that whatever the allocation we have got, we need to make sure proper utilization of money?
The last fiscal year, the last financial year, we had COVID. So there was huge utilization of budget in the health sector. And there was not so well transferred. It was not also so transparent in many cases. Despite misuse of money, despite sudden expansion in the health procurement, the health ministry had to refund 3,000 crore taka to the government. That means that the health ministry could not utilize the money despite the pandemic situation. So what is the good use of giving another 50,000 crore taka or another 2 billion US dollars to the Ministry of Health if they cannot utilize it? That is one aspect that we have also always to remember. And when you ask whether we should follow World Health Organization or not, let me give you one example. The World Bank always suggested that we should not be constructing a bridge across the Padma that is 11-kilometer long, one of the prestigious structures of the country. So we built it. Actually, we have never followed today. USA is experiencing a -5% growth rate. Italy -9%. India 1.5% and China 1.9. India 1.9%, China 1.5% growth rate. Despite COVID, ADB has said that our growth rate will be 5% plus. So we have attained that by defying, no, I won't say defying, but not 100% following World Bank, ADB, etc., prescription. So why, when it comes to our health, we have to consider the WHO prescription as a Bible and follow that. So I actually feel sometimes very surprised. A country that could decide whether to build or not the Padma Bridge, or whether to succeeded in maintaining a positive growth, 5% plus growth despite COVID, when it comes to health, follows a foreign prescription. And so, and again, I would not say that it is a failure of the government. It is again a managerial failure, the failure of the health management in this country, who entirely depend on foreign prescriptions for a local issue.
Now, we would like to know what's the dream project of Professor Dr. Mahmood Al-Mahtab. What's your dream? The dream project that is not allowing you to sleep well at night, what you are passionate about that you'd like to do in your lifetime. What's your dream project you're planning for?
If you ask me, we have very promising hepatologists, young hepatologists, and they're very academic. They do very well when they're students. But what happens is, once they postgraduate, they come out and enter the professional field. They're spread out in different hospitals. One hepatologist in a 500-bed hospital, two. Some are not even with good setup. So actually, the people we are building are lost. And also, you introduced me as, he has done this, he has done that. I can say that I have 250 publications. I have introduced that many procedures in the country: stem cell transplantation, TACE, etc., etc. But the problem, but the thing that kills me from inside is that I have not been able to see many more people publishing, many more people doing such procedures, many more people trying to be innovative hepatologists. It's a very innovative subject. For example, a pulmonologist in Bangladesh can never think of discovering or introducing a new treatment for tuberculosis. But that is their flagship disease in the third world. My flagship disease is hepatitis B. My flagship is liver cancer. We have so many new things. We can innovate. We can do stem cells. We can do this and we can do that. But I don't see. So why is that? My understanding is that we lack infrastructure setup where we could work in our own way. So my dream is that someday, if we could have a setup, we should not be a commercial hospital. It would cater the need of the extremely rich as well as the poor could have an interest. A model like Devi Shetty follows in India, where we could work, we could innovate, we could publish, we could. So that is the dream, but I doubt. I have recently completed 50, so I had I had a Filipino friend who's now 65. So when I used to know him in earlier days, he was publishing, running after anything, and then he stopped. Now he goes to the conferences, chairs, sightseeing. So once I asked him 5 years back, so Prof, what has happened to you? He said that, see, in a third world setup, up to the age of 40, be a revolutionary. Up to 50, try to consolidate your revolution, and after 50, follow the tide. So since I have reached the age of following the tide, so I don't think whether that dream will come true ever. But let's see.
No worries, you're not alone. For all the good wishes and for all the good approaches of the good and wise men, certainly you're going to get the support from your country, from your government, from our government, our country, Bangladesh, no doubt about that, because we truly know how to respect the respected persons. So, on the end note, we'd like to request you if you have something to tell to our youth, to Bangladeshi youth at this point in time, from your side, anything?
What I would like to what I don't think that I am someone who can tell or can preach the youth. What I do, can share with the youth is that what I did as a young person, and now before I start riding the tide, that is one has to believe in what we can do, and it is the youth who can change. You see, uh, party politics apart, uh, the country that is only 90 miles, 90 nautical miles probably away from your Florida, the revolution that took place there, whether that was bad, that was good, I won't say, but it was by a group of 30s, people in their 30s who took a boat and did a revolution. So revolution is always done by young people. It's a different perspective whether you will say, no, I support that revolution, I don't. You look at my history. The father of the nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, he became Bangabandhu, a friend of people of Bengal, when he was below 50. He was younger than my age, and he died at the age of 54 years. So it was a young person who perceived the idea of independent Bangladesh, realized it. You see, and there are very few father of the nation in the world who have been able or have seen their country successfully liberated. You will see, look at the world history, very few father of the nation who could liberate the country in their lifetime. So he was such a young person who did it. So it's the youth who can do it. So we have examples in front of us. We don't have to go to America, Canada. In Bangladesh, we have such example. We have a person like Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. So you don't have to believe in Awami League politics. You may or may not believe in Awami League politics, but I expect my youth to follow his path. That what is the power of youth and what a young person can do.
Wow.
What I could not do, nothing to achieve what could not do, I expect coming in my middle age from my younger peers that they may be able to do that someday.
Guys, we would like to echo with Professor Dr. Mamoon. Believe yourself, follow your leader. There's nothing you can achieve without following the path of leader. And thankfully, thanks to God, we have found a leader into our country, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. We are non-biased. We are not favoring any political idealship or something. We're just saying in general, let us go ahead. Look at still at this age, he's still young. Professor Dr. Mamoon is contributing. For who? For his family? No. For the sake of the country, for the sake of us. So we should respect them, we should support them, let them proceed with the dream so that we can embrace all these things together and cherish our country and make our country, as our Bangabandhu used to say, Shonar Bangla. Thanks a lot. And with this note, we'd like to end up this episode here. Next episode, we're going to meet up with our next guest with you. Till then, stay safe and stay tuned with Channel 20. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.